Are you glued to learning new things every day? Welcome to Tell Me More, the channel in which you will find crazy facts about anything that you can imagine. Stay tuned. Throughout history, people have been subjected to brutal and inhumane forms of torture, designed to inflict maximum pain and suffering. From the Middle Ages to modern times, these devices were used for punishment, interrogation, and control. In this video, we will take a look at some of the most notorious and terrifying instruments of torture ever created. From the rack to the Iron Maiden, these devices will leave you horrified at the cruelty of humanity. So sit back and prepare to be shocked as we explore the 10 worst torture devices in history. Now let's dive into it. 10. The Iron Maiden, also known as the Shand Mantel, was a medieval torture device in the form of a human-shaped cabinet, lined with sharp spikes. The device was typically made of metal and had a hinged door that would be locked shut, trapping the victim inside. Once inside, the victim would be impaled on the spikes, causing severe pain and injury. Some versions of the Iron Maiden had an additional mechanism that would cause the spikes to move inwards, causing even more damage. The Iron Maiden was said to have been used as a punishment for a variety of crimes, including treason and heresy. 9. The rack, a medieval device used for stretching the limbs of prisoners. The device consisted of a wooden frame with rollers at both ends and a rope or chain attached to each end. The victim would be tied to the rack and turned by a handle, causing the ropes or chains to be pulled tight and the limbs to be pulled out of their sockets. This could result in dislocations, fractures, and even death. It was used to extract confessions from prisoners and was considered a very painful and brutal form of torture. 8. The Judas Cradle. The Judas Cradle is a pyramid-shaped device that has a pointed spike at the top. The victim was seated on top of the spike, which was then inserted into their anus or vagina. The victim's body weight would then cause the spike to gradually penetrate deeper into the body, causing extreme pain and eventually death. The Judas Cradle was used in medieval Europe as a form of punishment and execution. 7. The Brazen Bull, a large metal bull-shaped device with a door on one side. Victims were locked inside and a fire was lit beneath it, causing the victim to be slowly roasted to death. The device was designed so that the screams of the victim would be amplified and resembled the bellows of an angry bull, hence the name. The Brazen Bull was supposedly invented by the Greek inventor, Perillos of Athens for Phalaris, the tyrant of Acragas, Sicily, as a new means of executing criminals. 6. The Heretic's Fork, a metal fork with two prongs, one of which was placed under the chin and the other under the breastbone. It was used to prevent the victim from moving or sleeping. If the victim moved, the prongs would dig into their flesh, causing severe pain. The device was often used in conjunction with other forms of torture and was considered a particularly cruel. Before we move further, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. 5. The saw torture. This method of torture involved the use of a saw to slowly cut the victim in half, starting at the pelvic region. The victim would be tied to a wooden board, and a saw would be used to cut through their body while they were still alive. This method of execution was used in the Middle Ages and was considered one of the most brutal forms of execution due to the prolonged suffering of the victim. 4. Impalement. Impalement is a method of execution or torture in which a sharpened stake is driven through the body of a person. The stake was usually made of wood, but sometimes metal, and was typically inserted into the body through the rectum or vagina. The stake was then raised upright, leaving the victim impaled and left to die. This method of execution was used in various cultures throughout history and was considered one of the most painful and brutal forms of execution. 3. The Head Crusher, a metal vice-like device that was used to crush the skull and jaw of the victim. The device had a metal plate that would be placed under the chin of the victim and a screw mechanism that would be used to slowly crush the skull and jaw. This method of torture was used to extract confessions and as a form of execution. It was considered one of the most brutal forms of torture due to the severe pain and injury caused to the head and face. 2. The iron boot, a metal boot that was filled with molten lead, boiling oil, or boiling water. The boot was then placed onto the victim's leg and tightened, causing severe burns and eventually leading to the amputation of the leg. This method of torture was used during the Middle Ages and was considered one of the most brutal forms of torture due to the severe injury and pain caused to the victim. 1. The Chinese water torture. This method of torture involved the steady dripping of water onto the forehead of the victim, who was tied to a bench or chair. The constant dripping of water would cause the victim to become increasingly uncomfortable, and if left for a prolonged period, it could lead to hallucinations, insanity, and even death. This method of torture was used in China and was considered one of the most psychologically brutal forms of torture due to the constant discomfort and mental distress it caused. That's all. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Is there any torture device you didn't know about? Let us know your favorite fact in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, give the video a thumbs up, and turn on post notification so that you do not miss the upcoming videos. See you in the next one.